Welcome back. Today we are going to visually improve the game screen. I did this one. So let's start. In the previous part we finished upgrading our user control select pad, and this time we are going to work with user control game. So let's open it. As always, we are going to start with modifying the properties of our user control and removing the unnecessary stuff. So like this one. Let's change the background from ghost white to hash EAF1 FC. Also, let's use layout rounding to fix images and increase the default font size to 30. Now let's add a style for buttons. So style, target type, button. And here we will set the default height. So set a property height, and the value will be 40. Now let's change the default font size to be 30. Change the max width to say 225. Next, we are going to import the style for radio buttons from our user control select pad. So let's copy this and change the style. Now let's change the default font size for text blocks to 30 as well. We are done with the resources. Next, we are going to change this toolbar to something similar in our user control select pad. So let's just completely delete it. Instead, we are going to use a border in grid row 0. Background will be hash E0ECFF. Let's set border thickness to 5. Make it cornet, so 0, 0, 10 and 10. Also, let's set the border brush to be Dodger blue at the bottom margin of 5. Inside of it, we will place 3 columns. So grid column definitions. Make 3 of them. In the first column we will have icons with our stats, so we will need 4 columns, and another grid, so grid, in grid column 0, inside we put again column definitions, but 4 of them. So let's first put a stack panel in grid column 0, it will be horizontal, and let's set its tooltip to be happiness. Inside of it we will put a text block. It will be green to represent the heart character. Let's set the foreground to hash 5 ED836. It will be bold. The text will equal the heart character. Next to it we will have a text block to represent the stat itself. So this text block will have a name, TBLC current happiness. It will be black, and we'll just put a placeholder. Now let's add another stack panel. Will be in grid column 1, and the tooltip will be coins. This time instead of text block we will have an image of coins. So image, the source will be pack column / application colon / images / coin.png. Let's set its width and height to 32 and set render options bitmap scaling mode to nearest neighbor and set its stretch property to fill. In the text block below we'll have name, TBLC, current money. IntelliSense says that we already have a control with such a name, so let's delete it. Now let's duplicate the stack panel and set its grid column to 2. The tooltip will be 3 hours. The image will be time.png and the name will be current 3 hours. Again, we already have such a text block. Not there, but here. And also hunger. And all of this stack panel actually. Oh, let's fix this. TBLC, IDES text block. Let's continue. Again, copy this stack panel. Set its grid column to 3. Set its tooltip from 3 hours to hunger. Set the image to hunger.png and change name from current 3 hours to current hunger. So we have our resources here, and we are done with column 0. Next will be column 1, showing the current day. So let's create another grid in grid column 1. Set its margin to 0. Oh, by the way, we renamed the file from kitten to kitty, but actually we will not use this image at the end, so let's just remove it. Now let's return. So grid column 1. Here we will put a control called progress bar. We will access it from code, so give it a name, for example pb days, IDES progress bar days, set its margin to 0 and set its height to 35. In the same grid, IDEST, we will use overlaying controls. We will put a stack panel, its orientation will be horizontal and its horizontal alignment will be center to make everything centered. Set its margin to 0. Inside of it we will put two text blocks, the word day and the day counter itself. So text block text will be equal to day colon and set its margin to 0, and we will put another text block here. Its name will be text block day, set 0/0, IDEST 0 day out of 0, and set its margin to be 1 on sides but 0 on top and bottom. And we are done with the progress bar, and all we have left is a button for main menu. So let's put here a button, set its grid column property to 2. It will have a click event called show menu, but we will not code in this part. Next we will set horizontal alignment to be right and set the margin to be 5 on sides and 0 on top and bottom. Inside of it we will put a text block, set its vertical alignment to be center, set its margin to be 5 on sides and 0 on top and bottom, and the text will be menu. So we are done with this border, which is here. Let's move below. So we don't need the group box anymore, and we don't have a win image anymore as well. So let's delete this. And we don't have a group box and a grid. Now let's set the grid on this stack panel to be 1, so that our stats, progress and button are on top and the rest of the game is in the second row. Let's add margin to the stack panel, 0 on left, 5 on left, 0 on top, 5 on right and 5 on bottom. Inside we have a border. Let's add some thickness to it, like 5. And we will increase corner radius from 2 to 10. Its background will be light green. Inside we have a border, inside of which we have a stack panel, inside of which we have a text block. That's a bit redundant. We can get rid of this border. Let's remove margin from top and bottom. So this was the border for the pet name, and now we will work with this border. Let's increase border thickness to 5 and add margin to bottom, so 0, 0, 0, 5, and we will make it cornered, so corner radius will be 10. Again we will have 3 columns, but this time the center column will have auto width. So in grid column 0 we previously had our stats, but now we will put the pet type here. So let's create a grid here, set its grid row to be 0. It will have 2 columns, so grid column definitions. In the first column we will have a stack panel. It will be here, so set its grid column 0. It will have 5 margin on left and right, so 5, 0. Inside we will put another stack panel, which will have horizontal orientation. Inside of this stack panel we will put 2 text blocks. Text block 1 will be with the text pet column, make it bold, and the second text block will contain the value. So it's very similar to these stats. So we will access it by name, therefore we need to give it a name, text block pet, and the temporary name, IDEST. The placeholder will be text block pet, just so that we always know the name of this control. So let's create here another text block, set its text to pet effect colon and make it bold. A text block for the value itself, tblc description. We already have a name for this one, so let's find where we duplicated it. Oh, right here. So we are done with this text panel, but we still have this small column, and we will use it actually. So we will create another stack panel and put it in grid column 1. Inside of it, we will put a stack panel with horizontal orientation, and inside we will again put 2 text blocks. H, text block H. And again below we will put 2 text blocks for age effect. Age effect. So text block, description, age. We are done with the first column. The second column will remain as the picture, but we will put it inside a stack panel. So stack panel, let's cut it and paste here and put it in grid column 1. This one does not need grid column anymore. We will set its height to be 128 and width as well. And in the third column, column 2, we will put another stack panel, set its grid column to 2. It will have only one text block for daily message. Name equals TBLC daily message, and set the appropriate text. So daily message. It will have a margin of 10. We already have a control with such a name right here. Let's remove it. We are done with this border. Now I'm going to change the location of items with choices. So choices will be below the items. So let's find our items, I guess here. Let's cut it and paste it here. Okay, we need to add some margin for the grid and give it a name. So the name will be grid items. We need a bottom margin here, so margin will be 0005. Instead of 2 rows and 2 columns, we will have just 1 row with 4 items. Let's duplicate this 3 times. We don't need row definitions anymore because we will have 1 row. Now, instead of using stack panels, we are going to use a more fixed structure like grid. So change it to grid, remove the row. It will have 3 row definitions, so grid row definitions. The first 2 will have equal height, while the last one will have auto height. Inside of it, in the first row, we will have a grid with 2 columns, so set it to grid row 0. It will have grid column definitions. The first will have auto width, so let's cut this text block from here to here. We put it in grid column 0, set its vertical alignment to top. We will make this line bold, so in order to do it, we will create a run, which will have font weight set to bold, and here we put the text a big bone, and after the run we put colon. Then remove the blank line. Here we will create another run for price, so run, set its baseline alignment to center. As you might have guessed, we will use an icon for coins, so we need to set baseline alignment to center for texts to make them inline. Put the price here, remove the dollar character, and right after it we'll put an image. Set its source to pack colon / application colon comma / images / coin.png. Set its width to 32, set its height to 32 as well, set render options bitmap scaling mode to nearest neighbor, and set the stretch property to fill. We don't need the word effect here, so let's remove it. Instead, this will be the end of this text block in grid column 1, because in the first row out of 3 we created a grid with 2 columns, column 0 and column 1. In column 0, we added description for the item, and in grid 1, we will put an image of an item. Again, you can download it from GitHub. I already have them in my images folder, and I only need to include them in the project. So, big bone, fruits, mouse toy, and vegetables. All are PNG. And now I create image control and put it in grid column 1. Set its source to pack colon / application colon / images / big bone dot png. Set its height to 48 and set its width to 48 as well, and set its vertical alignment to top. So this was row 0. Now we still have 2 rows, one for the effect and one for the button. So for effect we will have a text block, set it to grid row 1. Let's create a run here. Again, set baseline alignment to center, and the text will be just effect colon no more. And here we will put another image of hunger. That's why we use baseline alignment center. We don't need grid column 1. Source will be, instead of big bone, hunger.png. Don't worry about all this mess. It will get cleared when we process the rest of the markup. Change height and width to 32. Set render options bitmap scaling mode to nearest neighbor and set the stretch property to fill. And in the third row, idest grid row 2, we will have a button for buying. So button by bone. Instead of just buy, inside of button we will put a text block with vertical alignment center and text buy. So all this grid is our first item. I think it's faster to remake the duplicates of this one instead of upgrading each of those individually. So let's remove the old items first, and now let's copy the first item and paste it here. Set its grid column to 1. Change the name from a big bone to a mouse toy. Set its price to 4. The item image will be mouse toy. The effect will be +1. I need to see the changes, so button by toy. That's better. So effect +1. We don't need a run here actually. Instead we will create a run here. Set its foreground to be #5ed836 and make it bold. And we will put our heart character here. So effect +1 happiness. We don't need this image. Every day. Now we are done with the second item. So we can copy it. Change grid column to 2. Change the item name to vegetables. The price will be 10. The item image will be vegetables.png. Before we change the effect, let's rename it from button by toy to button by. I think we called it forage in our code. Let's keep it for some time. So we will use an image here again because we need an icon for hunger. So let's copy it from here. No more hunger. Paste it here. So effect, remove no more. Then we have our image, meaning hunger is weaker. That's the effect for our item. Now let's copy our third item, and now we are making our final item in grid column 3. Change the name from vegetables to fruits. The price will be 2. Change item image from vegetables to fruits.png. effect will be -2, then we will have image of hunger, and that's it. The button name will be buy fruit. So we are done with the item and with the whole row for items, and below we have our radio buttons. The only thing that I will change here is radio button 3. We will make it hidden, but just while I'm modifying it will be visible. Let's put a bookmark here so that I don't forget to change it back. So instead of just daily choice 3 special, we will have a text block with different formatting. So radio button content, inside we put a text block and set its text alignment to justify, and inside we put a run. We will use icons here, so set baseline element to center. The text instead of this will be play with your pet, which will give +15, and here is where we use the heart character. So let's copy it from, for example, here, and set its baseline alignment to center as well. Then we add comma, make a run here, but this time negative. Set the foreground to be red, and we don't need to make it bold. It will say -2, then we will use an image of time. So we are changing the game mechanics so that playing with the pet actually costs your time, because otherwise there is no need for this resource, and now it has a clear use. So you can only play with the pet when you have at least 2 free hours. So set the source to pack //application ::images/time.png. Set its width and height to 32. In render options, bitmap scaling mode, set nearest neighbor, and set its stretch property to fill. After that we close the parentheses, but we need to set its baseline alignment to center, so we need a run, set its baseline alignment to center, and put it here. Now let's set the visibility back to hidden and remove the bookmark. Below we will put a stack panel for our last day text block and button next. So set its orientation to horizontal and set its horizontal alignment to center. Let's give it top margin, so 0500. Inside of it we put text block last day, change its visibility from hidden to collapsed, and let's give it 5 margin on left and right, so 50, and the button will be on the right. Instead of just setting content directly, we'll put a text block inside of it, so text block with vertical alignment set to center. Remove the check mark from here and put it here. And the other thing that we are going to change is when we lose or win, we will show a separate window to a user, showing final happiness and the result. So we will not set it in this user control anymore. So let's just remove it. So that's it. Let's see how it all looks. Oh, we have problem here. I think we need to remove the lines that we don't need anymore. Here, here, and here. Now let's start our game. So this is how it looks now. As you see, our stats are showing, but they also represent the old system where we set the unchanged and changed part all in one control. And so you see the redundant text here. But I assume that it's completely playable. Let's try it. Yeah, and our code is still interrupting our visual controls, and we will need to fix it later. But I guess we can at least buy some items. So yeah, our values are changing. So yeah, it does work. So in the next part we are going to deal with the coding part for the game screen, and in the next part we are going to fix all of the mess that our code is currently doing. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to see more tutorials.